One to adhere to tradition when it comes to the annual State of the State address. This time around, Governor Janet Mills is choosing to divide her speech in half. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Chris Costa, in for Brian Yacono. The governor says she's doing this so that she can focus tonight on two major issues facing Maine and its people. This morning, her office released part one of her address, in which she focused on the improving economy, higher than expected state tax revenue, and what she thinks should be done with that money.
Tonight comes part two of her speech, which she will deliver before a joint session of the legislature. Two big topics of discussion: the Lewiston shootings and the recent storms that battered the state. Now, since the governor divided her speech into two parts, we are going to cover it with two reporters tonight.
News Center Maine's Jack Molmud is at the State House with highlights of part one of her address. Jack?
Well, Chris and Amanda, while the governor touched on a half dozen separate issues in that first part of her State of the State address, most importantly, there were two issues that caused quite the debate here in Augusta. That was Maine's ongoing criticism of the Department of Health and Human Services and the big issue of affordable housing.
It's the pleasure of the House.
House in session Tuesday with one thing on everyone's mind.
For the purpose of extending to Governor Janet T. Mills
The governor's annual State of the State address. But before she speaks to lawmakers, we have a look into the big issues. 11 pages and 6 major topics. That's why the governor is proposing $100 million to be set aside. Without those reserves, she forecasts painful cuts could be necessary. The governor also proposed $22.6 million to benefit public schools and more than $5 million to fight drug addiction in and out of jails.
People in Maine are concerned.
And in response to the governor's financial proposals Tuesday, House and Senate Republicans pushed back against her funding priorities. At the time of their news conference this afternoon, Republicans say they had not read the 11-page document.
I'm not confident in what the governor's plans are because it's been a really bad example set so far.
House Minority Leader Billy Bob Fockingham targets Governor Mills' housing proposals, which would bring on $16 million to help homeless Mainers, as well as funding emergency shelters and transitional housing. It would also provide $10 million for an affordable home ownership program.
Then we have this group of undocumented immigrants that have just seemed to skip the line.
Fockingham says more funding should go to help homeless veterans and less to support asylum seeker programs.
All of those folks should, in a strong Maine economy that we have, be able to find housing.
Representative Tracy Geer, a Democrat on the Housing Committee, says helping both homeless Mainers and asylum seekers is possible.
Really work to make sure that everyone who needs housing in Maine has housing, wherever you come from.
What I see the need for is restructuring, management.
Republicans say more needs to be done to investigate the Department of Health and Human Services as it faces continued scrutiny over the number of children who have died in recent years. In her State of the State, Governor Mills is supporting a bill from Republican Lisa Keim that provides more funding for child and family caseworkers.
I think this bill has the ability to really open our eyes to what the problem is.
Senator Keim says while the criticism of DHHS is bipartisan, more Republicans support breaking up the department. The governor says she wants to invest in certain positions within DHHS, and she says that will streamline the system. But not all Republicans agree.
We need to look into the management issue. Once we fix the management issue, then we can discuss whether or not to separate the departments.
And the governor said in her first part of the State of the State address that if Senator Lisa Keim's bill ends up on her desk, she would sign it. Now, there are quite a few number of issues that the governor addressed that she wants the legislature to spend money on coming up. Now, we have a full breakdown of those proposals from the governor from the first part of her State of the State address. You can find a full breakdown of that on our website at newscentermaine.com. Amanda?
Jack Molmud in Augusta for us. Thank you, Jack.